There are 6 stages of clay. First one is called slip. It's watered down clay that can be used as a pottery glue. The second one is called plastic. That's clay that you can easily mold and model. It's pretty soft. There's leather hard clay. That's clay that's somewhat dry, but it's really good for carving with tools. The fourth one is called bone dry, clay that's dry and ready to be fired. It's very fragile, and sometimes it's called greenware. The fifth one is bisqueware. That has been fired already. Clay that's been fired once in a kiln, and it can never turn back into wet clay. And sixth is glazeware. Clay that has been fired again with glaze. Hello, boys and girls. Today we are going to be creating a small vase. You'll be receiving a slab, that's like a slice of clay. This one is 1/4 an inch, and it's not very soft. You can see that it's a pretty dry piece of clay, so it stands up really well. Of course, this is kiln clay. I have to go in the kiln to fire. We're going to be making a small vase, just like this tiny can of Diet Pepper. So it's going to be a cylinder. It's going to have a bottom, a rounded edge, and about yay high. And what I've done is I've taken a piece of paper and I have just measured the size of this can and measured the bottom of the can. So we're going to need 2 pieces to create this vase. Of course, you will have a chance and have some tools to incise your clay with stripes or flowers or polka dots, all sorts of different tools. I set my tools down, and of course I cleaned everything up yesterday, and I had some really nice tools. Maybe I'll add some designs to mine. I kind of like this one. Of course I misplaced it. You can use any kind of tools to make marks in here. Today I might leave mine just as is, just to show you how to construct. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay this template down, or this rectangle down, and I'm just going to draw out along the edges how large I'm going to be making this vase. So I just carefully draw it out, and there we go. It's like building a gingerbread house here. This is the side of the cylinder. And I'm going to make my clay circular shape for the bottom a little bit larger. And I'll show you how we can trim that. And now you've seen that I've traced everything out. That's just the first step. Carefully cutting the rectangle out. At school, you'll probably have a plastic knife. I'm at home right now. All these scraps of clay can be saved, and we could put it inside of the slurry, which is basically water and clay. Looks like mud. This is the glue for clay, basically. And I'm going to cut this down all the way. Doesn't have to be perfect. Turn this to the side. And flip it. Of course, I'm going to have you do some simple designing on yours. I still might find some tools to put some designs on here. The next one I'm going to cut out is this circular shape. Of course, I don't want to ruin all this because I can use that for something else. And I'm going to cut this circle out. try to be accurate. Okay. There we go. I'm going to set this to the side. So now I have a 1/4 inch slab, a circle, and the bottom of my vase. So basically it's going to sit like this. Alright, boys and girls, I had a little water here. I added to my clay because it was so dry. You will not be getting this dry of a slab. My clay has been sitting here for a while. See, I've got a tear in it. Maybe I'll have to make that part of my design. I'll have to be very careful right here. Okay, I am going to add a pattern. And hopefully my work doesn't tear up. Here we go. This shows a pattern of circles that go all the way around. This is basically for rubber stamping. I'm going to use it in my clay. Gets a nice pattern throughout the clay. I don't want to press it too firmly because it flattens the clay a lot. And liking that. Now you probably barely can see it from that distance. And the bottom, I think I'll just make some polka dots. Maybe at the bottom of my vase I could have a little message with some rubber stamps. It's always fun to use rubber stamps in clay. Alright, next step. What I'd like to do is I'd like for us to pick up our slab. Mine is ripping. I'm going to try to fix it. Watch. Oh, I pulled off some of the paper too. I'm going to take my tool here, and you'll probably have a plastic knife, and I'm going to fill it with a little bit of glue in hopes that it starts to heal this little cut. And give it some strength. A little bit of glue, which is called slurry. A little bit of clay. Kind of fed right there. It's like a Band-Aid. There we go. Hopefully that'll work. I don't know. You always want to use your clay before it gets to this point. Alright, I think that's a little better. This circle is going to be the bottom of this vase. So we're going to go around and around and around and kind of figure out where these pieces will meet. And they pretty much overlap, just a very little bit right here. Okay, and I'll try to perfect that. It's not going to be a perfect circle because those two pieces will overlap. But on the bottom, I have to take my pencil and I have to make these little cuts at the bottom, all the way around this ring. And some of this will get cut off completely. And this is called scoring. You're making these tiny cuts where the slurry or the glue can sit. And then we're going to flip this over and we're going to make some cuts here the best we can without ripping this up terribly. Going around and around and around. All these cuts are going to hold the slurry or the clay glue in place. And it has to adhere to something, so you really have to make some cuts. So I'm going to take this slurry and I'm going to put it on the edge of this piece. Make sure the whole thing gets glue. It's not really glue, it's called slurry, but I like to call it clay glue. Looks like mud. And also, you're going to do the same on this piece. And you're going to go around and around and around. And I'm not putting too much that it gets disgustingly gooey, but enough. And someday you will learn the perfect ratio, perfect amount. Okay. So I'm going to flip that over. It has scoring in it, it has slurry in it, and I'm going to set it and press and kind of feed it into place. And you can see it's a pretty good seal. I'm going to flip it over, make sure it's on here nicely. I kind of like it. My hands are getting filthy, so I always have a paper towel or something with me. And that's the bottom of the vase. You can see the sides here. Oh, there's the crack I had before. I'm going to have to fix it, which I can. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, right here, I'm going to take my knife. I like a less sharp knife to deal with. And I'm going to pull these two pieces together all the way around. See how I'm doing that? Pulling together, pulling together. There's excess clay I don't want, so I'm cutting that off. And I'm working these two pieces together with pulling with a tool. You're trying to make it mold together like one piece of clay. And these two pieces aren't anywhere near together. It's because this edge has to be done. You can use your fingers too. And I'm really gonna have to clean up this edge. A lot of people do a lot of the cleanup when it's not so wet. It starts to dry. And you can clean up when it's a little drier. There we go. Now, I think I have the bottom on there. You can see it's sealed together pretty well. Now I'm going to do the side. And I'll have my little vase. It looks pretty rough right now, but once it's fired and glazed, it'll look amazing. That's how if you were making a cup, people would add a holder, like a little edge, a handle right there. Now I want these two pieces to come together. So I'm going to hold it on its side. I'm going to make the cuts on both sides. And I'm going to add the slurry and seam it together. Here we go. Cut, 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 cut. Little slices for the glue to hold. Oops, I'm slicing too much here. Here's the slurry. Clay glue. Got too much here, but I'm going to bring it all the way up the edge. This is the only way it's going to mold together. Slurry on this side. And here we go. We're going to stick it together. There we go. And I'm going to try to pull these two pieces together with this knife, just by sort of scraping them together.